everyone, Shroomraver here, and today, to kick off sort of 2017, I am going to be taking you through, relatively quickly, a sort of vague draft analysis slash introduction to my team in the CCL Season 5. Yes, indeed, but firstly, this is probably, I hope, going to be the first video on the channel of 2017, so Happy New Year everyone. Hope you had a great, Christmas slash New Year slash Hanukkah slash whatever you were celebrating. All of the holidays, let's hope they went well for you. But this is going to be, as I say, one of the first videos I think of 2017 on this channel, and it is going to be CCL. Yeah, you may remember a while ago now, I was invited to be part of Joe Swagilyph's Chuck E. Cheese League, the CCL. This was back in Season 3, that was sort of Season 2, but Season 2 didn't happen because Nick was sent to pizza. I don't really know how it all sort of worked out. But I was in Season 3, and it never quite got finished because stuff got in the way for most, if not all of us. So then they had Season 4, I wasn't a part of that, I had other things going on, and now, Joe and others very kindly asked me back to be part of the main roster for Season 5, and I was like, yep, I'm in, let's do it, thank you very much. And yeah, so thank you to Joe and those guys for sort of inviting me back. I'm always happy to be a part of this league, it's good fun. And yeah, this was my first Gen 7 draft, so it was my first introduction to drafting in Gen 7, and things got very interesting because what it became very clear was that people were drafting new stuff because we wanted to try new stuff, and then building around them for synergy with them. So a lot of the old favourites, they got left until quite late in the draft, and you'll notice this when I take you through who I got. And I should also say, we started this draft shortly after Sun and Moon actually came out. So it had only been out for probably a few weeks, so we didn't really know the sort of the ins and outs of how good things could be. So yeah, that's basically an introduction to what went on. I will see if I can try and find who's involved, actually. I should probably do that. Let's see who's involved. You might hear clicking there. Yeah, here we go. So, in draft order, who we've got is the Roger Rabbit and Denver Bronzongs, Dolce Giabrodude and his almost unpronounceable Zalgarados Vilnius, yeah. Joe Swagilyph and Pittsburgh Steelips, Pippo, the Pippo, and Leech Siege United. Myself with Parasect Germain, we had pick number 5. We've got Richard, the Canadian Wi-Fi, and oh god, what's his team called? He never puts it up there. Oh god, what's Colorado Stealth Rockies? That's the one. Then we've got the man himself, Gary, aka Bandy Savage, with whom I had a fantastic battle in the last time I was in the CCL. He's got the Detroit Glygars now. Nick, Superblar, and the beautifully named New York Cosmog. Love that. Baby Eric and the Seattle Onyx, and Tom Z and San Jose Sharpedos. So, those are the people. I was pick number 5. The ones that went before me, incidentally, were Tapu Koko, Mimikyu, Silvally, and Tapu Lele. There are a few bans that I'm not going to go into, but assume that if you don't see something drafted earlier that probably should have been, it was probably banned. New stuff, like not Celestia, the thing that's basically Deoxys with a cockroach. Pheromosa, that's the one. And various others were banned. So, getting into the draft, first thing I wanted, I was like, I haven't tried this thing out. Tapu Lele has gone, that's unfortunate. Tapu Koko is gone. And it was back when people hadn't really used Tapu Bulu too much, and they didn't realise how much of a beast it was, so I was like, let's take Tapu Fini. Grab Tapu Fini, it's my kind of mon. Bulky, but with offensive prowess, a decent enough move pool, and some tricky stuff as well. It also has that beautiful misty terrain that prevents status, which is super nice. And yeah, I reckon it can do some work. I think it's going to be a bit of a sleeper mon. Again, I'm not going to go into massive detail about this, it's just going to go through who I've got. So, with Tapu Fini on my side, I was like, okay, something nice and offensive that has still good synergy with Tapu Fini and can switch in offensively to take the hits that Tapu Fini doesn't want to do. So I'm like, okay, I can find something very powerful, decently quick, takes electric, takes grass, Thunderous Therian, boom. So we got Thundy T. Really, really nice offensive synergy with Tapu Fini. As I say, it takes those 2 hits very nicely that Finny doesn't want to take. And Finny, to its credit, can take the hits mostly that Thunderous doesn't want to deal with. Like, it'll deal with rock types, it can tank ice, and other things as well. Yeah, so those 2 together are a good pairing. So then I was like, okay, let's grab some bulk in. Let's get a few hazards. Let's get a poison resist. Let's get, you know, it can be another thing to tank hits that Tapu Fini doesn't want to tank. Let's grab Nidoqueen. So Nidoqueen comes in number 3. We've got hazard support there again, as I say, it can attack off either stat. It's just a nice, bulky on both sides, offensive on both sides kind of deal. Massive coverage, you know, we all know how good the Nidos are. So there's Nidoqueen. Number 4, I was like, okay, I really do need some speed here, as a matter of course. And I wanted a dark type, I wanted dark offense, and some more initiative. So I was like, okay, let's grab a Pokemon that I've never really used before. It's tricksy, it can mess with people's heads. Let's grab Zoroark, or Zoroark. You know the one, the dark coloured fox thing, Zoroark. Let's call it that. Yeah, a cool idea there. You know, it's just nice and tricksy, and it has a bit of a mixed rep in League. Some people think it's really good, I know, some people really set a lot of store by it, some people think it's really bad, and that's fair. We're going to give it a go here, because this draft is all about trying some new stuff, and some just stuff I haven't had a go at before. So, that was Zoroark. Now, number 5, and here, this is a Pokemon I knew I had to have in my team. I've used it fairly extensively on the ladder already, but even by the time I was doing this draft, I'd used this Pokemon. I love it, I think it's great. Maybe it's not a round 5 pick, I personally think it should be. Round number 5, Kamala. Love this little guy, absolutely love it. Base 115 attack does not have to be invested in, it is a special tank. It has Rapid Spin, it has Wish, it can't be statused. It is just really, really good, I love it. So I've got a spinner that can't be statused, that has reliable recovery and U-turn, and a decent attacking stat to go off with maybe one other move. I think it's going to do very well for me, I'm hopeful, I think that it's a great pick. And it's just another one of those hazard removers, you know. I've got a Rapid Spinner now in Kamala, I also, funnily enough, have a Defogger in Tapu Fini. So there we go, that's very nice. Now, 6th round pick, I was like, okay, let's get me a good, proper setup sweeper. And I was looking around at what's left, and I wanted some fighting attack, a fighting attacker. And I realised not only were there some good setup sweepers left, but one of the best and most threatening setup sweepers was left. Round 6, Lucario. And I realise this draft is turning into a shardy draft, and I warn you, it only gets more shardy from here, so brace yourselves. Lucario, very, very threatening, all the setup, all the priority, all the coverage. There's not a lot needs to be said about Lucario. It's just very, very good, and it's very threatening. And oftentimes you just don't know what it's doing until it's too late, and it's half done it already, so you know, I'm excited for Lucario, I think it's going to be one of my MVPs. Now, we're going to get into round 7 here, and do you remember what I said earlier about how people were drafting, and they were kind of taking some new stuff that they wanted to try out, and then building synergy around them, so some of the old favourite stuff got left until later rounds. So I'm looking round, and I see something that hasn't been drafted, and I'm just like, Itro, how has this not been drafted? And I looked at my team, I didn't have the typing that this Pokemon is, and sometimes this Pokemon gets shoehorned into a role it doesn't want to do. Sometimes it gets shoehorned into a defensive hazard removing role. I have Defog, I have Rapid Spin. Round 7, I took Mew. The gentleman's round 7 Mew. I have never had the opportunity to use Mew on a proper draft team until now, and I'm very excited to do so. I have the team support to allow Mew to kind of roam free. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun building with it, much like I did with Azelf last time I was here in the CCL. I think I'm going to have a bit of free reign to go really offensive with it, and to kind of go a little gimmicky and mess around with it a little bit more. Because I say, I do have those 2 hazard removing options. I am going to get another one later as well. So yeah, Mew, really, really stoked to get Mew. And it only gets better in round 8 because there was another one. Another base 100s Pixie that hadn't been picked, and I was like, you can't be serious. Give me this Pokemon. Round 8, we take Shaman as well to go along with Mew, and I was like, how has it fallen so far? I knew I needed a grass type. I'm pretty sure by now that Tangrowth must have gone. I'm scanning the spreadsheet. Like, I'm sure it must. Actually, I'm just gonna try and find it. Tangrowth wasn't drafted. Well, there we go. I think I was probably going to try and take Tangrowth, and then I was sort of like, oh, hang on, Shaman's around. Well, then why not? So yeah, Shaman, another base 100 mon that I've never used before really, and I'm looking forward to. Another one that Shardy loves. You know, we're gonna have a bit of fun with Shaman this season, I'm sure. Another one where it can go defensive, but I'd like to see it run offensive even more, and hopefully it can do so this time. Now, round number 9, I told you I was going to get another spinner. I also was looking at it and realising I have a lot of power. It would be nice to have just some ridiculous bulk. Just some nice, solid, physical bulk. So I was like, brilliant. I also want more hazards. Give me Fortress. So I took Fortress. You know, Fortress is very much kind of, it does what it says on the tin. It's a physically defensive spinner. That's basically it. It gets up hazards, it can get some initiative. It's a Fortress, we know what it does. So, yeah. Not a lot to say on Fortress. We get into round 10, and I was like, okay, I would quite like a fire type, but there aren't too many left, and the problem with that is it gives me more of a water weakness that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make up for, and, you know, I was loath to take a fire type because I didn't know if I was going to be able to get that water resist later on in round 11. And then it became very apparent that that there was something left that could really make up for all of that kind of stuff. So round 10, the Gentleman's round 10 Volcanion. I was like, okay, sure, give me Volcanion. I've seen it used, it is a monster. It is so very threatening, and I'm like, give me that Volcanion, I will hurt things with it. I will hurt things with it. It can run very effective defensive spreads, even without that reliable recovery that it probably wants to make it top tier. That really nice, interesting typing with powerful stab moves. Yeah, Volcanion is a nuke, and I intend to use it as such for most of the time. So then in comes round 11, and round 11, another reason I wanted Volcanion was the quad resist to ice. My team, there's a lot of weaknesses to ice, and there's a lot of resistances to ice. My 11th round pick I knew was going to be quad weak to ice, so that's why I wanted Volcanion round 10, but that quad weakness to ice is a very interesting pick in my opinion. It is Zygarde 10%, the doggo form. I wanted to try it out. The perfect form was like banned like quicker than anything has ever happened in the universe, because ain't nobody messing with perfect form Zygarde. That thing's going Ubers so quickly, potentially even AG, who can really say. But yeah, Zygarde was around, and Zygarde Doggo was around, and I wanted the speed, I wanted the setup speed on Zygarde Doggo. It's base 115 I think, or something along those lines. So I was like, yeah, grab Zygarde Doggo, it can do some work I'm sure, it's even more priority, it's set up, it's good, it'll be fantastic, I like it. And also it's a ground type attack that can hit flying types, which is super nice, with the 1000 arrows. So yes, that is the team for the CCL Season 5. Tapu Fini, Thundurus Styrian, Nidoqueen, Zoroark, Kamala, Lucario, Mew, Shaman, Fortress, Volcanion, and Zygarde 10%. Yeah, I personally am hugely hyped to use this team. I love it. I think it's going to be fantastic. There will be a few games played certainly before the end of the year. They'll be uploaded later on in 2017, but they'll be played before the end of 2016. So hopefully my sort of bad juju from previous leagues this year will not carry over into those games. But gonna be some interesting stuff. Our first game is up against Dolce, Geodude, and Zalgarados Vilnius. He's got some terrifying stuff. He's got some fairly broken shit. We'll see how well we can do against it, but that's going to be it from this draft analysis. Let me know what you think, and yeah, hopefully you can be looking forward to those games sometime in 2017. So, thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed, and I guess with that, I will see you all next time. Laters.